Cinema Classics is sponsored by WCBE 90.5 FM, Columbus, Ohio. Produced by John DeSando, Cinema Classics can be heard online at wcbe.org and Thursdays at 8:01 p.m.
I'm Courtney DeSando, filling in for my father, John DeSando.
And I'm Alexandra Shearer.
And this is Cinema Classics. Ready? Did I just go into my intro right now? Do I have to say anything?
Whatever you want, as long as you don't sound like you're reading.
Okay, I'm not going to sound like I'm reading to you. Here we are. We're going to be reviewing Barbie the movie, a fantastical journey that begins with our stereotypical Barbie, played by Margot Robbie, who's suffering from a very non-Barbie problem, an existential crisis. Why are her feet flattening? Why is she not why is cellulite growing on her most improbable body? What is death? These are not everyday thoughts in the perfect world of Barbie land. As we have Barbies who are doctors and presidents and astronauts, they have their own Barbie homes and they have every night as girls' night. The many Kens are just supporting players, looking good, having fun, doing beach. They are relegated to side players, which I think is really well deserved. I really liked Ryan Gosling as our Ken, who goes along with Barbie on her journey to find her purpose in the real world, leaving behind all the fun of Barbie land. Patriarchy is still in the driver's seat, though, and she's got to find out what is she going to do with herself now that the world is coming into the Barbie land. I thought that it was great. I really, really loved it. I thought Greta Gerwig had a big challenge in bringing both sides of it. Is she good or is she not good, right? Is Barbie good or not good? That's kind of the question. Is she just that kind of blown up out of proportion Barbie doll?
What do you mean, good or evil?
Not evil. I'm just saying, who is she going to be? Who is she going to be? So I really liked, obviously, Margot Robbie as she went through it. She was the perfect looking Barbie, right, with her beautiful hair and her big blue eyes and her essence. I thought really took us from being a toy or an idea to becoming a full human woman. What do you think, Alexandra?
I loved it too, and I really did. The only things I have to talk about though are the music. So.
And the music really resonates with you because being an attorney and in the entertainment world, your big concern is the credits for the movies. Is that right?
Lots of concerns, but one of the big ones is the credits, so the main and end titles, which they did a great job with the main titles. I thought that was really fun.
I thought that the real standouts, of course, Margot Robbie, that's a given. Secondly, I thought Ryan Gosling was absolutely terrific. He brought so much to the character. I was laughing out loud. I went through his journey with him just as much as I went through Barbie's journey. And I also thought America Ferrera was really terrific in her role as the everyday mom who has that tween who is, kind of snarky, a little bit, too big for her britches, who brought that sense of the real world to us in that way. I also loved, of course, Will Ferrell, who plays the CEO at Mattel, and his League of Minion men who, just followed him everywhere he went. The visuals were incredible, the way that they brought Barbie Land to life for us, and then stuck us in Century City, which Alexandra and I know very well. She is a graduate of Beverly Hills High School, and we lived right across the street from Century City. So for us,
I used to work at the Century City Mall.
That is true. So for us, that was a home away from home, and it brought us. We had a journey of our own to LA. So I thought that was really incredible. And as a mom to a daughter who has become really independent minded, I really appreciated the camaraderie between the mother and the daughter and how they were navigating the world, and kind of I love that the husband basically had no lines at all, so I appreciated that too.
I like that too.
Yeah,
because I think that is a common theme in life.
What, that the men are rather
are not relevant, yeah.
Oh, that's what she said. So I thought that some of the things that I really liked that could have been thought of maybe as a little overdone was America's big speech, where she was going to change the minds of all of the Barbies after Ken goes to the real world and brings back the thought process that men should just be rewarded for being men, and he takes over Barbie Land and changes it into Kendom, I think it was called, Kendom, which was a hoot in itself. You know, I really loved her speech there, where she said, you know, you have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You can love being a mother, but you're not really allowed to talk about your children all the time. You're supposed to stay pretty for men, but you can't entice them away from, you know, the women that they have in their life. So the dichotomy between being everything and not being anything, I thought was the real push and pull that Greta really showed us throughout the movie.
I'm interested as a young woman, whether Allie sees any feminist message in this.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, right? Isn't that the whole...
Why don't you tell
what
us
the
in your
whole
own words?
movie's about? Well, what I liked the most about, I guess, the feminist angle was when they were plotting against the men, conniving and plotting. I loved that. Sort of reminded me of John Tucker Must Die, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. The theme of that movie is these women who were dumped by John Tucker. They're all in high school, and they basically come together to plot against him, and I love that. I love when women come together
and plot against the men. What resonated for me in that was I'm actually married to a Ken who is a musician, and there are many times where I sit there clapping for him and thinking, shouldn't I be doing more with my life? Going through my own existential crisis right now in my middle age, going, isn't there more to life than just your career? So I love the Barbie and her career, but I also think, what else is there going on? So her transformation from a toy and an idea to an actualized woman, I thought, is something that you can understand as a young woman like Alexandra, who thinks that the whole world was like this, right? That she didn't understand that my mother's generation were women that didn't become doctors and lawyers as much as they are now. So for me, seeing that part of it and understanding we're all kind of, what is our purpose, what is the reason for us being here, we all have those questions that we ask each other, and to see it in a movie that you think would be a children's movie, which really raised those big questions, I love that part.
Yeah, I think it's also important to show that women can't really depend on men. My friend shared an article in the New York Times with me, and I didn't read it, but it was about why do we need men actually at all these days.
Well, maybe you think that because you were raised by a single mother. That might have something to do with it, because really we made it on our own without men. But I also think that there are reasons for men, and I loved that Ken's journey, I'm just Ken part, and the musicals really were terrific too, right? The musicals, the scenery, all of that, which we talked about, was great. But I loved how he had to, I loved the beginning too, right, where he doesn't exist except for in Barbie's eyes, which is usually the opposite, right? The woman only exists in the man's eyes. And watching him go through his process to bringing when they had everything was horse related, he said, I thought just being a man was, just having a horse, being a horse. I thought that was funny.
Right. What else did they say in that New York Times article, do you remember?
Oh, well, I didn't read it. I only read the headline, which you should never do, right?
Definitely not admit it on the radio that you only read the headline.
I did it, yeah. I wonder what will happen to me now. But I did really like the music as well. And included was Crazy Town's Butterfly, and it was very faint in the background of one of the scenes. And I actually thought it was that song, but it was a cover of that song. And the original is a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, Pretty Little Ditty. So it's actually a cover of a cover, which I thought was interesting. And you can just barely hear it in the background, but I do love that song. And then Matchbox 20's Push was a very strong part of the film, which I found kind of interesting because I've never thought of Matchbox 20 as particularly male or anti-feminist. I don't think of Rob Thomas as anti-feminist.
When you listen to the words of that song, I want to push you around.
But I feel like that's more emotional rather than anything physical or bad, and I don't really necessarily hear it from a man's point of view. I think
it's being sung by a man about women and pushing them around. So,
but I think a woman could sing that song easily, and I've loved Matchbox 20 forever, so I thought that.
So they get a pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the Indigo Girls,
Mhm.
Closer to Fine, which was used throughout as they're transitioning from Barbie Land to the real world, and watching the daughter learn to love the mom's music, because you have been raised on our music from the 80s, and you have, you know, carried that with you as well. And now you get to work in the industry and talk to people about crediting their music, which I think is fascinating. So how do you feel that the music played a part in this movie? What helped for you as far as the music?
Well, it made it more fun. And then obviously Push was in sort of a negative light when they were all on the beach serenading the women, and that's sort of when they were plotting against them. And I did love that though.
Court, why don't you wrap up the cinema classics part? You might want to ask her what she advises young people like yourself.
So Alexandra, if you were going to give Barbie the movie a grade from A to F, what would you give it?
A B.
Why only a B?
Well, I don't know. A plus is like my favorite movie ever.
Which is
Which is After Hours, Martin Scorsese.
okay. Well, this is a journey in itself. It is also
Similar
someone-
journey,
Similar
actually.
journeys.
Yeah.
Which
That's cool.
So I can see why you like it.
Mhm.
I actually gave it an A because of the reasons I
Okay.
talked about, having been going through my own existential crisis, not having played with Barbies because my sister Jessica was the Barbie freak in our family and she would not let you play with her Barbies, and I just did not have enough time for that. Loving Barbie for all of her, reaching goals, not just being a baby, not just being a mother, but all of those other roles. So I'm giving it an A. I cried, I laughed, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't expect to. The downside is there was such a good marketing campaign on it. I felt like I'd seen a lot of the clips, but other than that, I definitely thought it was an A.